Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Week in Nintendo. I am joined by the lovely Steve and Brandon. Hello, fellas.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. We're gonna bring this down though, because gloom. There's gloom all around. Xbox just killing everybody. PlayStation killing physical media. It's all looking pretty damn gloomy right now. So bring down the tone.
Okay.
But Nintendo are in the corner over there. They've just sold 400,000 copies of Rhythm Heaven physical in Japan only. So we're not counting digital, we're not counting the rest of the world. 400,000 copies of that dang little game. We don't know what it's sold globally, but that's crazy. So while everybody else is just like shooting themselves in the face, you've got Nintendo with a niche hit, which is amazing to see. And they have just kind of been in the corner doing their own thing. They added new Knockout Tour tracks in Mario Kart World. It's just been going pretty well for them while everything else is seemingly on fire right now.
It's an interesting position that we find Nintendo in. It's 1 year ago we were all up in arms about the price of both games and the Switch 2. And those days feel so innocent now. Like when we were mad, like $500 for a console, $80 for a game. And I'm not saying that those are great decisions, or things that are wonderful now, but in the greater context of gaming and everything that's going on right now, it feels so quaint to be upset about those things, where the PS5 Pro is $900. Somebody just announced like a $5,000 PC handheld. I think that was Aya Neo.
Yeah.
Just crazy stuff happening all around Nintendo. And Nintendo seems like this relatively like peaceful oasis in the middle of just this sea of chaos that's happening right now. So I think that Nintendo has, I tweeted about it recently, that they kind of just stumbled into like generationally great PR by doing nothing. Like they just kind of kept doing their own thing, and everyone else got so horrible around them that they're just like a shining example of what to do for the rest of the industry at this point.
I mean,
but it's also worth saying they're not our friends, are they? Like they
No.
like delisted Mario 35. They localized that Fire Emblem NES game and took it away. Like they've done bad stuff.
100%.
Stuff.
Like
but compared to everybody else right now, like
yeah, this is what I mean. It's like it's like the Luigi wins by doing absolutely nothing meme. Like Nintendo hasn't changed. They haven't gotten better. Just everyone else has dragged themselves so far down that Nintendo is looking so much better by comparison. But they are still extremely litigious. They love to nuke fan games. They cancel tournaments. They do stuff that is objectively anti-consumer, like every corporation does. It's just, again, like in the lens of what is going on at Xbox and at PlayStation, Nintendo's anti-consumer stuff feels like small and cute compared to like the things that Microsoft and Sony are doing. Microsoft is like, I'm going to get rid of 3,200 jobs, and PlayStation's like, we're going to kill a form of media that everyone agrees is beloved. And Nintendo's like, hey guys, did you see our cards are red? Like they're red now.
They also enslave hackers. Don't forget that.
True. That's true. that part maybe isn't so quaint and cute.
But like with Nintendo, one thing that they do very well though is they treat their staff well, especially like the internal people who make the games. I know in a way there's been like union busting. None of that stuff's good. But when it comes to the developers that create everything, they keep them on far longer than anybody else in the industry. Layoffs are so infrequent. In Japan, it basically never happens. But if you go through the credits for basically any Nintendo game, you're going to see a lot of very familiar names because there's so much experience that comes through making one title that's dragged on to the next and the next and the next. And it's that generational talent that they keep that pretty much nobody else is doing. Microsoft is refreshing their talent all the time. They buy new studios, they lay people off. It's almost as if they don't really understand that the people are behind the games. And that's something Nintendo have always thrived at, like since the beginning.
How are you supposed to foster a new generation of talent if you're not keeping the talent that already knows what they're doing? There has to be a process of passing the torch, passing the knowledge on to the next generation. And now we're in a situation where there's been so many layoffs in the industry that the current generation of talent can't get work, which means that the next generation of talent can't get work.
Mm-hmm.
It's breaking down.
As part of the Microsoft layoffs, like we heard originally, it was 90 at id. It's actually over 120 at id Software. And there's a lot of people going like, "Oh, it's just the coders." It's like, what you mean the people who work on id Tech? Like they fired everybody that works on id Tech? That's just the knowledge of that engine gone. There's some people at Machine Games that used it for like Indiana Jones, but you know, the grandfathers of the first-person shooter with their bespoke, amazing engine has just had all its engineers taken off. That's not minor. That's knowledge that is just going to be lost now.
Yeah, imagine doing that at Rockstar, like just laying off the Rage Engine team, right? That's just absolutely insane. Like this is the secret sauce to their games, and you can't really, undervalue good programmers. Like they are the ones who make games work. Satoru Iwata, famously an excellent programmer. That's why he became the president of Nintendo. He saved Pokemon Gen 2 by rewriting a huge chunk of the game so efficiently that they were able to include way more in those titles than they thought they could. Getting rid of the people who made Doom 2 is absolutely insane. Like that is just hilarious to me. I can't imagine getting rid of people that talented, who have, again, you're taking this is what you said. This is Microsoft thinking like, oh, we can get coders. Like they'll look at this and understand intrinsically what to do with it. And to some level, yeah, you could probably hire senior programmers who can read code. But there's a difference between reading code and understanding how that code has an impact on gameplay. And that's something that that team had spent decades building. It's wild to me that you wouldn't see the value in that.
Mm-hmm. So I guess just to drive home, like, Xbox, they're clearly restructuring. They bought too many studios. They made many bad decisions in the past, and they're trying to correct it all by just disrupting a lot of it, basically. And Nintendo on the other side, like they're not firing their studios. They're not selling them off. They're not getting rid of physical media. They're just kind of carrying on as normal. And it makes all these broader issues, which are truly disrupting how people enjoy games and respecting the talent behind them. And like you look at things like charging $20 for Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, and it seems so small now. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying any of that stuff has been great in the past, but in comparison, like I'm always seeing like Nintendo is like the most evil of all these studios, and I cannot like take that seriously after all of this.
I mean, I would even argue that some of the pricing we've seen with some of the games that have come out in the last few months might even be a response to them having to increase the price of the Switch too. Like, hey, we're going to bump this hardware up $50, but for the people who are already here, we're going to start really actually doing variable game pricing. $40 for Rhythm Heaven Groove is probably why that game's selling so well.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. And because physical's still a big part of Nintendo, we're all getting discounts. Even worldwide right now, retailers are discounting their games physically. I got Rhythm Heaven Groove for £28 physical. I think it's like 35 or 40 on the eShop. This sort of freedom to buy how you want and from where you want has always been a big part of why I love physical. And on PC, like you've got Steam, you've got GOG, you've got all these different storefronts, and it's not isolated to just like PSN, the Xbox Store, or the eShop. It's not just one place selling you everything. And the big reason PlayStation want to ditch physical media isn't the production costs. It isn't, having to ship as many units as they can. It's really all about control. It's about having 100% of the profit. It's not sharing it with retail. It's just getting maximum money.
And that should be incredibly obvious to people too, because they're experimenting with dynamic pricing on their digital storefront. They started doing it before this announcement, so like they're preparing people for what is going to be just awful control of what you pay and when you pay it. It's not good. I always see people saying that, like, you know, PC is great because of like Steam sales and whatnot. And for a long time, that was true. And I thought more recently that the other digital storefronts were starting to kind of keep pace with that. But after this, I don't know if that's going to be true anymore.
The problematic portion of this, and this is something I think all three of us have at least implied in other videos, is that when you have just a single point of entry for sales to any platform, then they gain full control over the price. And when have you ever known a corporation to give you a good deal when they're the only game in town? And this is the same thing that Apple has faced with Epic in their lawsuit. Basically Epic accused them of price fixing. Like because every developer on iOS for many years had to make their prices higher to account for Apple's 30% cut of all revenue that came in through their apps. Apple didn't make these apps. Apple didn't engineer them. They just made them available on the only shop on an iPhone. And the result was, in the EU, you now have different digital storefronts on iOS where you can buy stuff. Apple fought tooth and nail to keep that from happening in other parts of the world. Like here in the US, we still don't have that. Developers are able to now charge you what they want and not give Apple a cut. There's ways around that now, but they wanted to make sure that we stayed locked into the Apple App Store. And Sony's not going to be any different. They're going to, if they can eliminate physical sales, which, I mean, right now, as it stands, that is the truth. In 2028, PSN will be the only way to get PlayStation games. If they can eliminate that, they no longer have an incentive to give us a fair or competitive price, because you can't really have a competitive price with no competition.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. And Xbox, they're building themselves back up. I don't think they're ever really going to be able to catch up, though. Especially in the landscape we're in right now, where component prices are so expensive. Helix is not going to be a cheap console. PS6 is not going to be a cheap console. So you can see, like, maybe Xbox is their competition, but they're going to be pretty much identical. And when PSN's like the only place to buy a game, they are going to fix those prices probably most of the time. And with a lot of games right now as well, like on PSN, you can wait around for a sale. The Call of Duty games maybe go half off at some points, but you go back to a Call of Duty from 4 years ago or 5 years ago, and on PSN right now, it's probably still full price. Whereas you walk into a store, and they're in the bargain bin. Like those will go way, way down in price. I can go on eBay right now and find you last year's Call of Duty for like £6, because it just drops and loses all value. But it doesn't on PSN, outside of sales periods, which still don't touch anywhere near as low as they go. And obviously, it differs from game to game. Sometimes you will get a digital sale that is lower than a physical price, but for just the standard, I don't think that's the case. Like, physical games on the secondhand market are pretty much always fixed low, unless they're a rare game. Whereas now you've got to wait around for a sale, and that sale still might not reach what they're actually worth.
Yeah, and to bring this back to Nintendo for a sec, we've talked a lot about how Nintendo's like kind of the lesser evil of the three, but Nintendo does not lower the price of their games, like, ever. You can still buy Breath of the Wild Switch 1 $60. That's like a 10-year-old game. And that's kind of all the proof I need that, if Microsoft or Sony, specifically Sony in this case, get full control over pricing, that they're going to just have, we're going to be paying full price for games that are 5, 7, 10 years old, games that would be a couple bucks if you walked into a used game store, games that would be a couple bucks brand new if you found them at freaking Target, like, or Argos, right? Like you can walk in, like you said, get games that are a few years on and they haven't been able to move them. So they'll sell them to you for, $20, $30. They'll do buy two, get one free. Like Target does that every single year. It's the way I and a lot of people get games that maybe we didn't want to pay full price for. Every year I do the buy two, get one at Target at least once, because I'm like, hey, that kind of lowers the price of all three games to about $30. I just don't know. Like, Sony's definitely going to charge $69.99. If even Nintendo's willing to do it, it's definitely not going to stop. Sony's not going to say, now that we're the only game in town, we're going to be fair about it.
Yeah, Nintendo's in a funny place when it comes to their valued pricing, because on the secondhand market, almost every game goes lower. Like, if you look at any first-party PlayStation game, like go on eBay, type in Spider-Man 2, it's gonna be like $30, $20. God of War, the same. Nintendo games, even valued by secondhand market, still doesn't really go down. Like you can type in Breath of the Wild in
because
eBay
they
right
don't
now.
have to.
Yeah, I guess that's the difference. But there's this sort of desired aspect I get of the value, and in terms of like what is shipped to retailers, they typically sell through what they have as well there. But yeah, Nintendo's pricing is kind of controlled everywhere, even on the secondhand market, whereas most places aren't. So it's this weird other realm for them.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo at least, this isn't like a huge point of favor, but, you know, a couple times a year, their first-party games will go off, like, 30% on the eShop, and I don't know if that applies to retail stores. But you can occasionally get, like, Zelda or Mario Odyssey for, like, $40, $42, something like that, which, again, isn't great, but, you know, they at least go on sale. I think Nintendo would be wise in this particular market to bring back the player's choice or Nintendo Selects model when a game like surpasses 1 million sales or whatever, to get a constant and permanent discount.
It would be nice.
In the GameCube era, it was like $20 down from 50. You know, they were in a worse situation back then. But they still did it again in like the 3DS era, and they were doing fine with the 3DS.
It's funny because no one does it now. Like PS5 doesn't have a PS5 Essentials line. Doesn't have like Platinum. You know, PS4 had that. Xbox Series X doesn't do that. Maybe it's just the different era we're in where digital pricing can be more flexible, but typically when it's not on sale, it's not. Like you go on Steam right now and you can find games from a few years ago where their full price, like their main non-sale price, has gone lower, and that's just not really the case on PSN. Like you type in, I don't know, Demon Souls, which is what, like 6 years old now. It's still going to be $70 unless it's on sale.
I guess my question is, do you think this really, like 5-6 years from now, is this going to hurt the bottom line enough that they are going to be forced to drop prices of games?
I think GTA 6 is going to normalize this a lot, right? Because there's no like fully physical version. Yeah, and it's going to sell really well. I don't think this is really going to impact much for GTA 6. And your average person, like your normal sports person, Call of Duty person, they're going to also be playing GTA 6. And so they're like, oh, so this is one of the few games I buy a year, and I bought this. It's, you know, this is just how it is. I think a lot of people are just going to go through with it. But I do think people are going to buy less games, though, because it's going to be really unflexible.
I mean, the average gamer is already only buying like upwards of 2 games a year anyway. Not counting like the enthusiast, but you know, the overwhelming portion of the market, I think, is just buying 2 games a year.
But it's also one pillar of.
You can't get rid of your casual market.
No, it's one pillar of many that's kind of crashing right now, though. With PlayStation 6, it's not even been announced, and already people are like, I don't want this, man. Because like, what one pillar is PS5 and PS5 Pro still haven't really like gone out there and shown everything they're capable of. Like GTA 6 is probably going to be one of the bigger like demonstrations of that. But still to follow on, like the PS4 cross-gen games didn't end that long ago. And then there's the pillar of the whole component costs. It's probably going to be $1,000 plus. Another pillar, no physical games. Another pillar, digital stuff probably isn't going to be that flexible. So when you've got all that pillars that are just they're so close to knocking each other over, it's like maybe physical games doesn't do it for some people, but another one of those almost certainly does.
Yeah, it's a difficult time for the games industry overall. Like you said, there's a lot against the PS6 right now. One of the things that strikes me is I've never been this far into a generation and felt like we didn't need some kind of tech upgrade. Like 6 years into Switch 1, I think we all kind of felt the pain there, right? Like we were all ready for something new. I've been playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced on PS5 Pro, and I'm just gobsmacked by how great that game looks. It looks so impressive that I find myself just asking, do we really need better graphics than this? I don't feel like I need something better than that right now. I play games on my Switch too, and I'm playing a fully fledged version of Street Fighter 6 every single night. And I'm like, I don't need a better experience than this. I'm not sitting here poking holes in this the way that I would in a generation that is 6 years on. And so I feel like we're largely, as consumers, especially considering we are, again, I said this last week, we're in one of the worst economies ever, thanks to the AI boom and component costs. We all, like I said earlier, we scoffed at a $500 console a year ago. And now we're talking about consoles that will easily cost double that, if not more. I just don't know how far you get by telling people, our console is $1,000 and our games are $80. Like that feels like what, a bridge too far for the vast majority of people.
Yeah. I think there's already a large population that view video games and gaming in general as a luxury. This is going from luxury to only like the rich can afford to be part of this hobby. Mm-hmm. Like for PS6, 1,000 plus, you've priced me out. Look at my room. The kinds of stuff that I have and what I stand for, that's too much for me. I can't do it.
Yeah, and when you chase away like your most passionate people, like you've got people who've dedicated their lives to games, who have like shelves full of games behind them. When that kind of person says like, I think I'm all right, like something is horribly wrong.
I felt that was really powerful, like with your video. I'm like, you're a big PlayStation guy, and like that's the end of the road for you. And I'm like, that's going to be the case for a whole lot of people.
Mm-hmm. It's very sad. I maybe something that hasn't really been touched on so well is like why does physical matter so much? And like we've talked about pricing and value, and that's certainly valid. But I think another perspective is just like what it all means. Like when you get a physical game and you get that sort of tangibility, that connection to a game that you can pick up and hold and you look at, and it's like having like a little poster for everything you've played and a little something to focus your memories and experiences on. Like I can look over at my shelf. I'm looking at the Zelda games over there right now, and I'm looking at like Link's crossbow training, right? That dumb little game. And my memories of finding that final boss with the big skeleton and all that, that's just coming back right now. It is like the physical embodiment of a digital medium. And taking all that away is kind of soul-crushing. Obviously, the game itself is the most important part. And it's like, should the packaging it comes in be that important? But it kind of is. It kind of is that important. And it just kind of drives home that we're, as in all forms of media, it's just going towards everything being content. And Xbox has been all on that for ages. But when everything's digital and it's just like, you pay for this game, you pay for this game, you pay for this game, it's like you don't get that time to really reflect on things anymore. And it may sound superficial to tie it all to a box, but that's genuinely how I feel.
I do not disagree with you one bit, and I've had a lot of time to think about this. I watched your video too, and I've been thinking on it for a while. I want to be clear. I'm not the world's biggest like physical collector. I have like a couple hundred physical games, and I know that is a weird two things to say together, but like most of my purchases are digital these days for convenience's sake. Like also the three of us review games. They don't send physical review games anymore. Like you get a code, right? So a lot of games have been given to me by publishers or developers for coverage purposes. So I have an extensive digital and a decent physical library. But the thing that really gets me, and the thing that has been sticking with me, because if you go back and you watch our Ocarina of Time reaction, I am holding my N64 copy and I'm in tears as I'm holding it. It meant so much to me in that moment to have the game with me. Like, I know it sounds silly, but I was like, I want to hold my original copy while I see this amazing, exciting thing happening, because I've been through so much with this specific physical game. Like, my Ocarina of Time copy is frayed around the edges. The booklet's not in great shape, but it's because it's traveled with me for almost
it's
30
yours.
years.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think about this because I'm also a dad. I'm a father. And I remember thinking about how sad I was when my kids got into gaming, that I couldn't do what my mom did for me and go to Toys R Us and hand them the little slip and let them take the slip to the person, and the person hands them directly their game. And I remember feeling just this rush of emotion when I would get to go to that counter and pick up a game as like an 8 or 9-year-old boy. And that initially for me was like a sense of loss when Toys R Us closed, but there were still physical games and I was able to just get them in a less meaningful way. And then that is now being taken away. Like, you know, my kids largely are going to grow up with like, just, oh, I remember when dad downloaded me that game, and that feels empty in a way, right? Like it takes something away from it. Like I have my copy of Altered Beast from the Sega Genesis where I broke out a yellow highlighter and like colored in the enemies in the book. And I'm like, and I wrote my high scores in the back in like my terrible, you know, 7-year-old penmanship. And I'm like, wow, like that's irreplaceable. Like it is by every standard a ruined copy of the game, but it's my ruined copy. It's mine that I scribbled in and dog-eared and messed with. And that's just something you can't replace. Not to get super personal, but my favorite physical game of all time is my copy of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And for the longest time, I hated it because within about a day of getting it, my abuelita turned it over, grabbed a piece of paper, and wrote someone's phone number down, but using Sonic 2 as like the brace for her pen. And her handwriting is permanently indented in the back cover of that game.
Yeah.
She's dead. Like she died many years ago, and I miss her terribly, as anyone would. And now I have like this just subtle permanent reminder of her on the back of my copy of Sonic 2. And like now that means more to me than anything, because that's something that I think of her now every time I look at that.
There's God, there's so many layers to this. A lot of my biggest memories growing up playing games, weirdly, is the ride home from the store.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Where you got the game in your hands and you're looking at the box and you're reading all the information and you're just anticipating getting home, cracking it open, putting it in the system, and just playing. I have a very vivid memory of Twilight Princess coming out on GameCube. I didn't have a Wii at the time because you couldn't find one.
Loser.
I was a child at the time. Thanks.
What a little dork.
So I'm sitting in the GameCube version is the better version of the game. Sorry. So I'm sitting in the car with my copy of Twilight Princess. My dad is having the longest Midwestern goodbye in the parking lot of the church we used to go to when I was a kid. I think I was in the car for an hour and a half waiting for him to drive me home. So I am sitting there eagerly anticipating this game I've been waiting years for as my dad is having this conversation. And I remember just losing my mind, but still, I wouldn't have had that memory if not for the physical copy. And I kind of look on it fondly. And another thing I got thinking about, actually, I have two more points. Sorry, this might be a little long-winded.
Yeah,
there's like this whole genre of video on the internet I love where people buy like old carts of games secondhand and just explore the person's save file.
Yeah, Xeon did a great video with Mario Paint on that.
Yeah, just what was their experience? What did they do? Xeon's Mario Paint video is a good example. There's a lot of examples of people doing that with Pokemon games. What team did you have? What levels were they? How did you raise them? And I love that. You're gonna lose that with this. I mean, obviously with discs, you're not really capturing the save files anymore, but I don't know. There's still an element of that is exciting to me. Like when you open up a physical copy that someone else owned, they might sign their name in there somewhere. or the indent of someone's Abuelita handwriting might be all over the box, and that's sad to lose that. And
it is sad.
The last thing I wanted to mention, I work for a library system, and our library acquires just about every big new major release to put on the shelf for checkout. That's done. We can't
support your libraries, do that by the way. Like if you've got a local library, support it in any way you can, because we got to cherish those things while they're around.
I mean, most people look at libraries and like, oh, they just have books. No, we have books, we have movies, we have video games.
Yeah.
I was just in our main branch a couple days ago, just looking at the game shelf, and some of the games I saw there was really surprised me. There was like Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest 3 HD2D, 1 and 2 HD2D, and I'm like, wow, there's some great games here that if you don't have a lot of money and you need to save, you could check it out from the library, get your experience, and move on. That's going to be a huge loss.
Yeah. And to bring this back to Nintendo as well, they're still doing physical games. They're the only one in the business who, after 2028, seemingly will be doing physical games. And obviously, they've got two forms of game cartridge. There's traditional game cards and also game key cards. And there's always misconceptions around what exactly is shipping on a Switch 2 game. We've seen on socials, a lot of people just don't get it. And on the video that we did, a lot of people genuinely learned stuff, which I thought was, I thought it was general knowledge, but people who own the system don't know that stuff. And key cards are not ideal. They're a non-ideal solution to a genuine problem, being that game cards cost $15 to manufacture, and a game key card is $5, but a disc is like $1.50. So even the key card is like almost 4 times the amount of a disc to do. So I think after this dismissal of physical media, people are starting to see why game key cards exist. No one's like overjoyed to see a game key card. Like when you've got your favorite game and it's on a game key card, there's always that moment where it's like, oh man. But you can't. It makes more sense than ever now, and I think people have started to kind of shift around them a little bit.
I mean, that was the case for me. I never thought I'd buy a game key card, but now I have 2.
What are your key cards?
I got Persona 3 Reload, and I have Bravely Default HD Remaster, because I got them for cheap secondhand.
Yeah.
I got Persona from Best Buy, but Bravely Default I got for cheap secondhand. That was an option for me to pay less than the retail price, so I did.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that, game key card, as somebody who, again, I'm, especially with Switch, I'm majority digital, just because I like having every game on a portable console. I can take it with me. I don't have to worry about packing cards as well. But I have a decent size Switch 2 collection, all things considered, like a physical collection, because one, I believe in supporting physical games. Like, even if I go digital, I will sometimes double dip just to get the physical, especially if I know it's a full physical on cartridge game, because I want to support that, and the best way to support it is with my dollar, right? I own a few key cards in the instance that it is the only option available, and I think, like, my daughter's going to want to play this, Rosie's going to want to play this. I will usually buy the key card to then make it easier to facilitate swapping. Like, for instance, I know that, you can share games digitally on Switch 2. A lot of my family just doesn't want to do that because they're like, well, I don't want to feel like I have to beat the game inside of 2 weeks and then ask you if I can borrow it again. I'd rather just you give me the key card and I can put it in my console and I can play it whenever the hell I like. I get that. I think that it is not an ideal solution in that, it's still reliant on Nintendo servers. And I want to be clear, Nintendo hasn't fully shut down anything yet. Like, you can go back to the Wii and download your games still. You can re-download them. This is another thing people don't get. I saw a thread that went viral on Twitter. People saying like, oh, the Nintendo shut down the Wii. You can't download games. I'm like, Well, you can't buy new ones, but you can absolutely go and re-download anything you had previously purchased. Nintendo to date has not, nobody, Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo has removed the ability to re-download things you've purchased. And I think that's because all three of them know. They're not doing it out of altruism, let's be clear.
They're afraid of litigation.
Yeah, they're doing it because they know they will get sued the instant they shut one of those down. And as somebody who works in information security and IT and understands the cost of running services like these, it's minimal. It does not cost a lot. Honestly, they probably could have kept the ability to purchase these open for years and years and decades. I don't know why they chose not to, because realistically, if you're still operating like a content delivery network, you could have migrated the Wii or PS3 or Vita shops into your modern CDN with minimal effort. Like, it wouldn't have taken that much work. I think it's just a case of they don't want to, but because they want people buying stuff on whatever the latest hardware is, where they make the most money. But yeah, I think that there's just this interesting sense that, like, you know, game key cards at someday, probably frankly long after all three of us are no longer gaming, whether that means we're here or not, that's probably when these will stop working. Because I do anticipate there is a day will come when they no longer work. I think it's probably so far in the future that we probably don't have to think about it.
Yeah, and it is sad though, because I do play games that released before my time. Like I play lots of stuff from the 80s where I wasn't alive.
Right.
And with game key cards as well, though, we already know that they're not accessing the eShop, like from a straightforward perspective, because they don't need any Nintendo account. And you can redeem them before they've even released, whereas the eShop would stop you. So like, they're just going straight to the server where things are all stored. And we're now in a point where like all the storefronts are merging into one modern storefront. Like Switch 1 and Switch 2, same store. PS4 and PS5, same store. Xbox One, Xbox Series X, same store. Whereas before that, it was like, this is the 360 store, this is the original Xbox store, this is WiiWare, this is the Wii U eShop. Like, none of them were connected in the same way. So going forward, I think that they're probably all just going to stay that way. So hopefully it just gets to a point where like stores just don't shut down anymore because they're all the same anyway.
That was kind of my anticipation, at least with Nintendo, because I don't really think they have any reason to. Would it not cost a bunch of money to have to build up a new store and stop maintaining the one that you ran for 20 years? I guess what would the motive even be?
It's an interesting thing technologically speaking, because you end up in a place where they had to modernize, right? I think Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft built these digital storefronts not knowing, you know, if they were going to succeed or fail, right? Like, I mean, it's hard to believe in this day and age, but like back in the early 2000s, you know, Microsoft was like, hey, check out Xbox Live Arcade. We're going to sell tiny indies here. You know, Nintendo had WiiWare and Sony was kind of doing their own thing, and they slowly turned these things, they kind of stacked technology on top of technology to make what was then modern digital storefronts. And I think they realized they weren't very forward thinking in how they built them, and they were like, oh, we have to move on. But again, I don't think that that's necessarily, I think this is one of the cases in which consumer backlash worked, because realistically, I think these guys would have loved to migrate us all from shop to shop to shop, because it locks us out of our previous purchases. Nintendo historically loved selling us games over and over again. Like, hey, you're going to buy Mario Brothers on the NES, you know, every time we release a new console. It might be $5, but we're going to charge you that $5 every time we launch new hardware. Mm-hmm. From their standpoint, that's just a win for them, right? Like, hey, we're going to sell these idiots Mario again, and they're going to buy it again. But realistically, they started to hear consumers be like, what the hell? I don't want to pay for this again. I've paid you for it so many times. You need to stop. You know, and those voices became loud enough that Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft realized, like, guys, I think we're going to be in some trouble if we keep charging people for the same games they purchased, you know, 5 years ago. Eventually somebody's going to stand up and sue us. And they decided that the risk outweighed the financial reward on their part, because they're like, a judge will probably side with people that they should be able to play things they bought, and that we can't charge them again. So maybe we should just make these purchases carry forward, for as far back as we can go.
I mean, Nintendo didn't even technically do that with their legacy content. They just stopped selling it altogether.
It's still gone. They just charged us a subscription fee to get to it. So
on that note, though, as well, like on the topic of the video about Nintendo being like the lesser evil, it's so much cheaper NSO than PSN and Xbox Live. I'm sure that's not. They're going to go up. They're going up in Japan. But PSN and Xbox also go up quite frequently. And I can't see it ever going that high. Like, when you account for family plans or even just discounts you can find on like cdkeys.com or whatever, or even just buying it straight, like outright from the eShop, the amount that they charge for their subscription is so much lower. And as Brandon was touching on earlier as well, like their flexible game pricing is actually real. Like we are getting like $50 games from them or $40 games from them, whereas everyone else is just doing like 70 all the time. Like their valuing stuff has changed a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I've been paying for NSO via the family plan ever since that was, a feature. I've been splitting it 8 ways since launch.
Yeah, I pay like £6 a year for the expansion pack because of that.
So I've only just now gotten to the point where I would have paid for 1 year solo.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's wild to me. Like, if you're on an individual plan, I don't remember how much it is. I want to say it's like $50 a year by yourself. It's $80 a year for a family, and I know that because I have a big enough family that I pay the $80 a year. But realistically, I'm paying $80 a year for 5 people to get on Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack, right? That is compared to my PSN account, which I no longer have, but PSN Premium is $140 a year for a single human being to have access to that. Or it's like $125.99 plus tax. It's somewhere north of $120. And that doesn't get you a whole lot. Like, it gets you the ability to download a game a month as long as it's on the service. And if it leaves the service, you lose that game. It gives you it gives you online play, which is hilarious that costs that much. And then you can stream like a back catalog of games, which is a feature that I never used. Like, I didn't stream PS2 games or PS3 games on my PS5. I literally never did that. Game Pass Ultimate is in the same space, right? Like, you're north of $100-something a year. And I think it's like 30. At one point it was $30 a month. I think it's 25 now that they removed Call of Duty. Yeah,
and it was cheaper than that when they, but before they did like the price bump, then brought it back. It's like it's technically still gone up, but they've also made it so day one games aren't part of the lower tiers anymore, haven't they? So that you've got to wait for them to come in now.
Exactly. I haven't had Game Pass for a while, but it's over $200 a year to have it. So if you go all the way to Ultimate, if you're on Game Pass Ultimate, it's like 200 something. It's basically what a console should cost mid-generation.
Just wait for Game Pass with ads.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's coming.
I think it's just touching on how dire it is right now for absolutely everybody. And that Nintendo, they have not been the good guy in most circumstances. Like, I miss Mario 35 a lot. I love that game. And there's plenty of things they've done which have been annoying. There's always like that Nintendo move that they do, but just compared to everybody else right now, it just seems so small.
It really does. Go ahead.
The things that I think Nintendo has done that people would consider anti-consumer, I think, have been way less important to me than the things that have been happening recently. Just overall, Nintendo's certainly done some crappy things like shutting down tournaments, removing fan games like AM2R just because they were doing their own remake. I don't like that stuff, but removing my ability to buy a physical disc for a video game altogether, like, I don't think that compares personally.
We're literally losing consumer rights here.
Yeah.
We're losing everything we've always had. Like, it's changing everything. Like this isn't charging $10 more for Mario Kart. Like this is landscape changing stuff, and you're forced into it. And you're forced into it, or you back out. Those are your options.
Yeah, I want to be clear too. I've seen a lot of sentiment online about people saying like, "Oh, Nintendo's going to follow suit and they're going to get rid of physical games," and I just don't see that happening. Not in this generation. And it's really important to note that Nintendo is kind of out of step with the industry in terms of generational timing at this point. The Switch 1 generation went so long that we're 1 year into a new hardware cycle for Nintendo. They're not going to just say, you know, that card reader on your Switch 2, we're not making anything else to put in that. Like that feels like something that they're just, I don't see that happening. Like I can't imagine a world in which Nintendo says like, hey, we know the Switch 2's been out a year. We know we've invested the R&D in new cards, new physical media. We're just going to stop making it. I don't see that happening at all. I can't imagine next generation, all bets are off, but I think the Switch 2 generation has at minimum 6 or 7 more years left in it. And I just don't see Nintendo, just getting rid of physical media.
Do you know what's interesting as well? In their financials, they often give us their split of digital and physical. And it's often like 50-50 or like 55 physical, 45 digital. PlayStation do the same thing. They've shared it's like 85-90 digital. But you've got to keep into account as well, that encompasses everything, including stuff that isn't sold physically. And in the Insomniac leak, we actually know exactly what their first-party games have sold physically. And on PlayStation's side, they actually have a majority physical for their first-party games. Like Uncharted 4 was 83% physical. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, 75% physical. Spider-Man 2, 60% physical. It's like clearly, like the problem was Sony wanted out of that. They're like, look all this money we're losing on the physical market. Like, we should put it all on ourselves. But Nintendo, like we know that even in their all-encompassing split, it's still largely leaning to physical for them. So it would make no sense. Like we don't know the ratio for like what Mario Odyssey sells, physical versus digital. But it's got to be higher than what PlayStation sells, and it's already high for them. So they have too much to lose by
it's arguably more important in the case of something like the Switch 2 because like the consumer is saving so much storage space.
Yeah.
Just by buying physical games.
It's not only that though, Brandon, you talked about your dad buying you Twilight Princess and sitting in the back of the car, right?
Yeah.
Like with a Switch, like a portable console, you're not just sitting in the back of the car, you're playing that game in the back of the car. Right.
True.
Like you're putting that cartridge in and you're playing it immediately. And I think that that's something that is one of the, quote unquote magical things about portable hardware like the Switch, that you can go into a store, buy a game, put that game in and play it right there. You don't have to wait. You don't have to get home. That's the nature of portable consoles is they enable you to play wherever you want. And taking that ability away from the consumer is kind of antithetical to what the console is. Like, last year I was in Paris for a brief bit for a Pokemon Go event, right? And I have this habit that whenever I go to a new country, I try to buy a game in that country. Just because I think it's neat to have like games from different parts of the world on my shelf, right? So I have a French copy of Game Builder Garage because it was the only game I could find in Paris in the little area that I was in. And I was able to put that into my Switch and play it like right then, no nothing additional needed. And I was like, neat, Game Builder Garage, but French. And I put it back. But I think that I just don't see, as long as Nintendo pursues the hybrid console model, I don't see them moving away from having that ability to put a cartridge in and play, right? I mean, the other cool thing about that is, frankly, from a strictly corporate standpoint, it's great advertisement, right? Like you see somebody grab a game from a store, put it into their console, and it's immediately working. Like people like that immediacy, right? Like, I remember getting my Wii U home and then watching it update all day long.
Yeah.
And that just hampered my enthusiasm for that platform. And I think that, there's a lot of that going around where it's like, game consoles used to be simple. You grab a game, you put it in, It works. And that's all there is to it. I've been playing a lot of PSP lately, and I kind of appreciate that whole sense of like, I've got the game and that's all I really need to worry about. I don't have to go online and patch it or update it or download a firmware update to play it. I'm just going to play this game. And Switch has most of that still intact, 20 years later. And I sincerely hope that never changes.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's in a position to go all in on physical, it definitely is Nintendo. Like, can you imagine going to the Nintendo Museum 80 years from now? And like, you go to like the Switch 3 area, and it's just like, man, this is where we went digital. There's nothing here. It's just like, here's the console.
That'd be sad, but that's for sure.
They're definitely, their fan base, I think, has always been on that legacy side as well. They've got fans that they've kept since the NES days. And there is more of a collector's mind in the Nintendo audience. Like if we try doing videos about legacy PlayStation games, they typically don't get the same following as legacy Nintendo games, which is sad. I'd love them to get a wider share, but that's typically where people go. Like if you are an enthusiast of the history of video games, you're probably a Nintendo fan, and you probably do care about physical media a lot more.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like you said, anytime we put out something about the legacy of gaming, like anything in the last, talking about the 90s, right, or before, Nintendo definitely occupies a huge amount of mind share in that space. It's not something that you see people rushing out to hear us talk about, like OG Xbox or PS1, even though those are great consoles. I love them. And I think there are wonderful stories to tell there, and I wish more people would tune into them. But realistically, we can do the same topic, but with Nintendo, and it performs like 10 to 1, right?
Yeah.
I think that Nintendo fans in particular, because we have a lot of love for those older games, and a lot of younger Nintendo fans, the two of you included, like have gone back, like you said, John, and sought out stuff that was before your time, right? Like I know personally, John, I've been in the room you're filming in. You have a Famicom disk system in there. You have a lot of NES games. Yeah. Brandon, I'm sure you do too. I'm sure you have a Famicom disk system.
Yeah, definitely.
The weird part is I'm staring at a Famicom disk system as I'm saying this, but I'm old enough to get it.
One of my favorite games, and for a long time, my favorite game was Super Mario World, which came out before I was born.
Like, I don't like that.
It doesn't
matter.
Like
that statement at all.
It literally doesn't matter when a game released. You can always appreciate it. Like you never had to be there. Like, there's never a point where like you had to be there to play the game. It is, if it's ever been good, it's still going to be good now.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that Nintendo has this kind of nostalgia to it that other brands just don't really cultivate. I feel like Nintendo, it's weird because when you think about Nintendo in the games space, they don't really lean on nostalgia very much. I can think of that one level in Super Mario Odyssey, but they don't really do a lot of fan service based on the legacy of their games. Instead, they continue to make great games and they pay homage to them in other ways. Like, you might get a Nintendo Direct where they go over the history of Mario or something every couple years. Whereas Sony and Microsoft tend to throw references into their games, but you never really feel like there's a lot of love and care for those franchises, especially considering, Astro Bot had so many loving callbacks, and I think Team Asobi themselves love and respect the medium. But you look through it and it's like a graveyard of studios that have been closed.
It's Japan's studio graveyard specifically. Like closing Japan's studio, it is the equivalent of Nintendo closing, I don't know, one of the PT departments. Like if they take the guys who make, like let's say, like obviously it's not as big as like Mario or anything, but if you closed the people who make, I don't know,
WarioWare,
Kid Icarus, WarioWare, like that kind of tier of stuff. It's like it's kind of unforgivable. Like that the history of the entire company and what they mean today is built on that stuff. And we are at a point where Sony have killed Japan Studio. They are killing physical media. There's a lot of really a lot of things are bubbling up right now that makes it really hard to love PlayStation. Which is sad because I have a lot of really fond memories. Ash and I just recorded a video about PS2, about the gems that we love in that system, and it's one of my favorite consoles.
I've only been a fan since the PS4, and I feel like my time got cut so short.
Yeah. It's sad. It is sad. But I think we can probably yap on for a long time about this stuff. We've got to call it quits somewhere. But is there anything else you guys want to say before we do?
Buy a Switch 2. It'll probably get more expensive. Just go buy one.
Yeah, probably don't want to wait anymore.
No. Well, that's another thing too. They were transparent about when they were going up in price, and they gave you like 3 months to do it, which the others didn't.
Yeah.
Like, and they added a new bundle, a new game bundle.
They did? Yeah. So like, Mario Kart was the 500 bundle, and now 500 is the standard, but there's still a bundle there. It's like, it's obviously it's not good, but they're finding ways to kind of make up for that. And it went up by 50 rather than like 200, which Xbox and PlayStation have been doing. It's nuts. It is nuts. But anyway, thank you so much for listening to The Week in Nintendo. If you want to listen to the audio version of this, you can over on our Patreon. You can get it early as well, so please support us over on Patreon. We appreciate it so much. But until then, thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.